I feel like those that are within the journalism industry, within this station or within this career, you don't do it unless you love it or it's a calling.
University of Missouri journalism student Jay Motowala knew he wanted to be a journalist at a very young age. He wants to make sure people are putting their money where their mouth is. With his time interning at Fox 5 DC last summer, reporting for his school's NBC affiliated station, KOMU, and experience with philanthropy, Jay wants to give back and tell stories that not only inform communities, but also educate them. There's like a bit of sicko in everyone who wants to go into media. What is your sicko? Like, why do you want to do this?
I mean, sicko is so funny. That's such a funny term. I feel like, I mean, I tell this story, but like when I knew that I wanted to do this career at a very young age. But actually when I was about 11, I was watching the 2016 election and how much of a crap show that kind of was, but then also how well the media outlets, both national, local, and independent, were at holding those people that were in positions of power really accountable for their actions and for what they said. And I think having that sort of ability, I mean, this is what got me into politics and then also what got me into wanting to pursue media and journalism like this. And I just think that I want people to put their money where their mouth is. And I guess if anything, that's kind of my sicko. Just because I want people to say what they mean, man, and I want to hold them accountable to it.
Did growing up in like the DC area play into that at all?
I think so. I think that there's a lot of times I think you and I both know that it also helps, but at the same time we kind of take it for granted a little bit too much. Um and it's one of those things where, the fact that I was in DC and the fact that I was exposed to all these things, I didn't really realize how much that played a role in my life until later on in my high school career, my middle school, like kind of going on. So I think just being within maybe even earshot of all of these really important decisions, it made me want to go in that similar direction. And that's kind of like, how we met because we interned at Fox
Yeah.
5 DC. And even though it wasn't like all political stories, it was still cool to be in the heart of both where we grew up and where all of these really important people are making these really important decisions that may benefit people or screw over another group of people.
What's kind of like your goal down the road? Like throwing it 20, 25 years.
20, 25 years. I mean, right now, I would say I'd love to go national, report for a national station, whether it be NBC National, ABC National, CBS National. Um, any national show would be pretty incredible. But also, I mean, being at Fox 5 DC and seeing what operations look like, news operations look like within a top 10 market, I mean, it's really inspiring because you and I both know we watched people who were just really damn good at their jobs and being around that, it makes you want to live up to that. And so I see the type of work that they do, how it affects communities, and I would love to be at a national market, but I'd also love to be in a top 10 market locally too. I think both of those are really, really exciting outlets for me.
Do you want to go politics, news, soft, hard news? Like
When
not
I was growing up, I would have told you specifically politics, but after doing a lot more general assignment reporting this year, I've covered criminal cases, I've covered community events, I've covered dogs getting stuck in ponds and then firefighters rescuing them. I've covered breaking news events. I mean, it's one of those things where like I just want to tell stories that impact people, whether positively because they're happy with the story or negatively because the story or the contents within the story make them concerned and upset people within their community. I don't think I have a solid answer of what kind of path I want to go on. I just want to do something that will make people pay attention and critically think about where they are.
kind of like get more into your experiences that you kind of had. You're so lucky. I wrote this down, but Missouri School of Journalism, KOMU is the only
Mhm.
university owned commercial major network affiliate in the United States that serves both as an academic and commercial mission per the website. And it's an NBC affiliate. What does that kind of tell you about professionalism? Because like my station at Syracuse, Citrus TV, we don't have to follow FCC rules. I'm almost sure you have to, right? So what does that kind of taught you?
I mean, what's more valuable in education in terms of learning about the industry than legitimately working in the industry while you're learning about it? Like, there's nothing more valuable than that experience. When I was touring here as a senior in high school, I toured the studio once and then immediately knew I wanted to come here because it's just that legitimate of an organization, of a station, and it teaches you about the real world. And when it comes to professionalism, I mean, you and I both know that with local news, with national news, there's slot. You have to make your story prepared to in order to go for slot. And it's not like it's a streaming show to where we can have it finished at any time. Like if your story is not done by the 5 p.m. newscast, your
It
story is
is
not
done.
done. It won't
Yeah.
run.
Yeah.
It's like that's just how it is. You really have to work on the fly. You have to learn how to adapt. You because yes, we have a lot more hand holding than in the real world because we have the managers at KRMU who are also our professors and they work really hard and they kind of guide us along the way. But when you're out in the field by yourself, you're out in the field by yourself. You know, you have your mic, you have your camera, you have your tripod, maybe your backpack if you have to go live and you have to set up your own live shot. At the end of the day, it's a lot of the show is riding on you as a reporter in order to hit your slot. And it's taught me a lot about how to navigate my work and how to create the best product so that it's not just for a grade, but for the hundreds or thousands of people that are watching the newscast every night.
Are there any experiences that come to mind, like a time where your IFB broke or you forgot your camera or something where you're like, man, like this sucked, but it was great for me.
Oh my gosh, completely. I worked as so this semester, the way that reporting shifts work are that since there are so many kids that are within the program, it's much more than like a traditional station. They have kids report about once a week on average. And so this semester I'm working Friday dayside. So if dayside is the 5 p.m. and the 6 p.m. shows. But last semester I worked Saturday dayside. And on Saturdays, the managers, the professors, they're not in. And that was my first ever reporting shift. So a lot of what I had to learn was on the fly stuff. So
Okay.
a lot of stuff where I've had no guidance. Like the second week I was reporting, I had to go an hour and 15 minutes away for a story, set up my own live shot, all without like legitimate guidance or like hand holding along the way because that's just what the story needed.
Did the
And
live view
I,
work?
the live view worked. Yes, the live view worked. I was so nervous about that. But the one time where I did mess up was I had this story when I was a Saturday reporter last semester where I got to be able to interview the Democratic candidate for governor for the state of Missouri. And I interviewed her and no sound. None. Just none of it picked up. Absolutely none of it picked up. I was so mad. I called my mom. I was like upset. I was like, why is this happening to me? So what I had to do was I was also going live from that location where she had her campaign event. So I set up the live shot, went live, and instead of, having her saw it or her sound on tape of what she was saying, I just had to kind of explain what she said. And it's one of those things where yeah, of course, you want your interview sound to work, but of course it didn't work for like one of the most important people I've ever interviewed as a reporter at this point in my career. And so it was a learning experience, but it's one that I will never forget. And I will always make sure to check my dang sound levels every time I'm out in the field. Now, I won't forget it at this point.
Well, it's also just like a lot of ways. I feel like I've spoken to people about this. Like these bad things happen, but even if you feel alone in that moment, like no one's around you, you know that everyone who's been in your position before has had that happen to you.
Yes. Yes. Whenever I screw up on a story or feel like my work isn't good enough, I mean, I've talked to my professors about this. Like, there's been times where I've done stories and I haven't been happy with the quality of them.
Yeah.
And I've gotten upset, and they've been like, yes, you may have made a mistake or this could have been better, but remember, and then they'll be like, oh, then this happened to me. And then, oh, this happened to another student, and this happened to them, and this happened to them. And it makes you think about it in perspective of like, oh, I'm not alone in this. There's people that, are messing up the same way, but then they're learning from it in the way that I want to learn from it as well.
And a lot of times it's just, and this is hard to like, it may be easy to conceptualize, but to like actually know it and live it, make air, not art.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And so obviously you did some election coverage this past November, but you got a
Mhm.
lot of experience dealing with the craziness of an election in a Washington, D.C. Market. So what did that kind of teach you? Like, what did your time at Fox 5 dealing with stuff like, oh, Biden dropped out, Kamala's in, Trump like attempted assassination. What did all those things teach you to get you ready for your election reporting at Mizzou?
I mean, and this is something that I'm still working on. I've had some mistakes with this in the past when it comes to political stories, but you just have to be so thorough with not just your facts, because your facts could be right, but the way you say it could be strung out of context if it's written in an unclear way. And again, this is something I'm struggling with, but it's something that you have to pay so, so, so close attention to. Because, yeah, I mean, stories about politics are equally as important as stories about the community or crime or all of that. But the language and wording is so important because it could be totally misconstrued in a way that you didn't really mean. And also, I mean, a lot of these stories, like you mentioned, like Biden dropping out and the assassination attempt, these were breaking news. Like this was like everybody had to get up off their butts, go to a live shot location. Like they had to like really be in it. And that taught me a lot about how to handle breaking news, how to be calm under pressure. Just as long as you know your stuff, you're gonna be good.
I mean, I don't know if you saw, but do you know how Wolf Blitzer that day posted that he was at a restaurant in DC drinking a
I
Wolf
saw that
Blitzer?
picture. He like had a drink in his hand and he was like, "Oh, I'm chilling out." And then that happened and then he had to go back and his face looked like he was so like in that one screen grab that went
Yeah.
viral. He looked so annoyed and like I guess yeah, that's part of the job, but like it's human
He was
nature.
drinking a spritzer, man.
I just wanted to enjoy my dang spritzer. I don't know what happened here.
Um, like you've also had just, I feel like a lot of people, they not intentionally, but people in media, a lot of times they know what they want to do. So they want to do it all the time. If you want to be a reporter, broadcaster, broadcasting, then you get your socks and then you get your VO and you just do that every day, every day. But you actually have like a lot of experience doing a lot of different things. You field produced, you've been an associate producer, you've obviously anchored and you've reported. You wrote for the Man Eater. Is that, am I saying that right?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
back when I
Man
was a
Eater.
freshman. That
Okay,
was
I
our
was thinking the Hall and Oates song, Man Eater. No,
yes, exactly.
you've done a lot, just playing in different roles. What is that? How have all those experiences kind of helped you? And also, you've been an intern too.
That's right. I mean, it's you don't want to be pigeonholed into one thing. I mean, because obviously, what my career direct trajectory will hopefully look like in the future is someone who has that reporter anchor role. But you can be such a good team player if you know how the rest of the roles work. Like I worked as a digital producer when I was a sophomore for the station, and so now whenever I write my web articles as a reporter, I know what they're looking for. I know like how to make a good quality article versus one that's kind of lazily written, and I know how to sort of help them out. And also as a producer. I mean, that helps so much when it comes to anchoring. I anchored a 4:30 a.m. show this morning. For the station and being having that producing experience in the past, it helped me kind of when it came to reading the show, formatting the show, changing any wording that I thought maybe I could have said a little bit better. It's just you want to be able to play a team role, and just in case an emergency happens or breaking news, and they need you to step in for a role that maybe isn't exactly on your job description. If you can fill that role, then you become valuable and you just are able to help out more. And so I think being able to be well-rounded in your profession, it'll be able to make you a better person for your team, a better team player, I'd say.
Does that scare you though, in a way like, well, I have these skills. I'm applying for a job. I'm applying for jobs when I've graduated college and people might hire me for things I don't want to do, or do you not like, how do you think about that?
I feel like I think a little bit. I mean, I know that when I apply for jobs, the job description is going to be news reporter, reporter, MMJ, reporter slash anchor, reporter slash weekend anchor. Like that's just the reality. But when it comes to stuff in the newsroom that, you and I both know that there's a lot in news that we have to do that isn't paid work, like whether it be contacting sources or filling out our pitches or setting up interviews or just all of this stuff maybe you have to do when you're not on the clock. And it's definitely frustrating, but at the same time, it's also part of the job. And it's something that because I want to pursue this, I have to learn to kick the dirt and move on. When it comes to like actual roles, I want to be very clear with my news directors about what I bring to the table, what I expect that they give for me in return in terms of compensation, in terms of work-life balance, in terms of treatment, in terms of, last minute calls. I want there to be a good source of open communication between the both of us. So maybe if they need a skill of mine, it can be only if there's a really, really, really big emergency and they're really, really short staffed. But I want to be useful, but I don't want to be a crutch.
Yeah, no, I kind of like what you said there about like doing things that you don't get paid for. And you didn't mention coffee because there's more than just getting coffee. Like, I don't know, everyone thinks, oh, if you're an intern or your startup position, like your entry level position, oh, you're getting coffee all the time. You could be getting tea. No, just kidding. No, you could be, you have to set up interviews. There's just a lot of, I wouldn't call it manual labor, but just like a lot of little things that kind of go into that. And like adding into your experiences, you obviously got a great one this past summer interning at Fox 5 DC, like literally in the top 10 market. How is that? How did that experience help shape your perspective about what you want to do and what you want to accomplish this upcoming summer and just for your rest of your time in college?
I would see the work that they do, and it's just the kind of work that I want to aspire to even try to do. If I can even do a fraction of what they're able to do on a daily basis, then I will feel that I have put my back into my reporting, into my shooting, my editing, my writing, my on-camera appearance. It's just, I kind of said this a little bit earlier, but we witnessed what the best of the best looked like. And it may have been a little bit nerve-wracking to think that, oh, this is kind of what we have to be at, but it was also inspiring because this is something I wanted to do since I was a kid. And the fact that people can do it just like that, I mean, obviously with all the work, but like because it's almost second, like some parts of the job are second nature to them, you know? So the fact that there are people out there who could just kind of turn it on and be really, really dang good at their jobs, it inspired me to want to do similar work to them. It makes it seem approachable.
How also has that played into how you want to, like, what internships you're looking for this summer?
Yeah, so this summer I'll actually be interning abroad.
Oh,
I'll be
wow.
in Brussels, and I don't know which news station I'll be interning with
That's
yet, but it's
sick.
part
Wait, what? That's so cool.
it's part of Mizzou has a really, really incredible study abroad internship program. So, but basically, what happens is that I sign up for this internship program. I send them my reels and resume and all the materials, and basically, the program will match me up with a news program in Brussels that is interested in having me as an intern. So whether that be there's a company called Euronews, that's a lot that a lot of kids who are in Brussels kind of study with or work with. And then they're also kind of like boutique, smaller news agencies or broadcast stations that work with them as well. But I wanted to I wanted to kind of be able to get, different experiences on reporting from multiple types of locations. I mean, we grew up on the East Coast in DC, and then I moved to the Midwest for college, which could be a little bit of a culture shock. And it was interesting to see how other people in other places react to broadcast news, to journalism as a whole. And it's really interesting to be able to see how people in different countries react to broadcast news and television and what their opinions are on it. And not only how they react, but also how they cover things. How is it different from how we do it here? I feel like it'll make me more well-rounded and versed in different types of methods for creating news, for covering news, or creating news cover or creating news like VOSOTs or packages or the technical stuff. But I think I want to become well-versed and be able to point at different experiences and be like, hey, because I learned this from this, I can apply this to my job right here.
Speaking of kind of a wide array of experiences, working at KMU, you've gotten to cover like a lot of different stories. I know that you covered a story with like you covered election stories, you covered stories about officers that died, but I also saw that you covered a story when you're on the scene of where a boy was injured in a shooting. How have you gotten more comfortable in those environments where dangerous stuff just happened?
Yeah, for that one in particular, that was I think my fifth or sixth week reporting, so fifth or sixth day reporting, and that was another one where I set up my own live shot. We didn't have live ops. I was working on a different story, but then I got redirected to this one when we found out it happened. but it's one of those things where I think being able to talk to the neighborhood, the people in the neighborhood, because this shooting happened in the neighborhood. And a lot of the people that I talked with, they didn't want to talk on camera, but they talked off camera and they talked about how this wouldn't have happened in their neighborhood. It's safe, it's a community, it's different. It's this was a one-off, you know, this isn't normal for their neighborhood. And kind of hearing people speak about where they live with such positivity, it kind of made me feel a little bit more secure when it came to covering something like this. And for the people who did want to speak on camera, they were very honest with me and they were very transparent, which I really appreciated. And I mean, at that story, you could see still the bullet remnants on some of the cars because it was a drive-by shooting. So they drove by and then some of the remnants got onto some of the cars in the neighborhood. But luckily the boy survived. He's okay. But it taught me a lot about how to sort of deal with interacting with the people who just witnessed or went through or lived near a traumatic experience. And it taught me a lot of empathy, it taught me a lot of kindness, and it taught me a lot about how to sort of interact and go about these really difficult challenges.
What do you say to the people who call you crazy because you embrace these environments? You're pursuing a career that doesn't always pay the best. The industry's a lot very unstable in a lot of ways, and people are talking about if staple television like news shows that have been around for 40, 50 years are going to go away in the next 10 to 20. What do you say to those people? And also on top of it, it takes all your time and a lot of stress. I mean, a lot of careers do, but journalism always has weird hours sometimes, all the time. What do you say to those people, or what do you at least internalize about that?
I feel like those that are within the journalism industry, within this station or within this career, you don't do it unless you love it or it's a calling, you know, because of all the things that you just said. There's been plenty of people who start out maybe as a freshman or a sophomore wanting to go down the broadcast track here at Mizzou, but then they switch over to a different type of journalism, whether it be strategic communications, which is more so advertising and marketing to for other companies. You see that switch happen a lot, and I mean it makes sense. It's bad hours, it's lots of work, it's physical and emotional and mentally draining from time to time. But I mean, a lot of it's unexplainable. I want to create stories that make people think and feel. And what's more real than what's actually happening in your community? And when you're talking about, you know, the job market and how, you know, television news is, you know, it's the media is constantly changing. And yeah, it definitely is. But I think that's why I have such high goals for myself. I want to be either in a top 10 market or national or, you know, in a good place because I want to have that job security for myself in all honesty. And also I want to be in a place where my contributions and stories will be understood by not just the people that are watching the show, but by the people that I'm working with. They'll understand why I want to tell stories in the way I want to tell them.
That's it. Kind of leads into like the sicko part of it, and it's like just like natural passion. I mean, the last person I spoke to, my previous episode, one of my good friends, he started at Fordham. He was studying journalism, realized it's not for him. Not only did he change majors, he transferred schools. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just like a level of just like, hey, am I really going to do this? And that breaking point comes for people at certain times. And for the people who are in it, they never have a breaking point.
Yeah, totally. I mean, there's so many people, you and I both know that, who, you know, they graduate college and they pursue broadcast journalism, they pursue, you know, television reporting and anchoring or producing, and then maybe within 5 to 10 years, they actually end up leaving the industry. And that's something I'm very well aware of. That's something that I know a lot of my colleagues have expressed interest in or have done or are thinking about doing. And I'm not gonna lie, I will think about it too. I don't think that I think it's kind of delusional for me to say that, oh, I will always be in this career no matter what, and nothing bad will ever happen. Like that's just not the reality. And it's something that I've grappled with, that I've, you know, come to accept that I'm passionate about this, but maybe I'll go in a different career direction. But at least I'll be able to say that I have done this and I have told these stories. And if it didn't go as long as I wanted it to, I'm still glad that I had the chance to do this at all in the first place.
Yeah. My last question for you. is I know you did a lot of philanthropy back in high school. I know you co-founded a chapter at your high school, and you did fundraising events and you helped foster kids. What did your experience in philanthropy and clear passion for giving back play into why you wanted to go into journalism, and how a lot of ways do you feel like there's some correlation between the two? Because a lot of people do say journalism is an act of public service.
Yeah, I mean, I think people who I think people definitely do say journalism is an act of public service, but I also don't want to hold myself or other journalists on such a high horse when there's these people that are on the ground actually doing incredible things with these charities or with these organizations or programs that are really, really directly helping people. And I just have an infinite respect for all of them and all the work that they do. I've done, I've helped out since high school. The chapter you're talking about is one called Comfort Cases, in which they basically pack bags full of necessities for kids in foster care when they're transitioning from home to home. Because before this charity, kids would have to gather all their belongings in a trash bag, which is just kind of dehumanizing, and it's it doesn't make the children feel like they're accepted or that they're at home. And the founder, Rob Shear, he's gone on Fox 5 actually many times to kind of talk about his charity and seeing the connection that they had, how that local news has with charities, and even that national news has with good stories. I want to be able to tell stories that, again, kind of like I said, maybe a bad effect on people when it comes to if they're outraged by what they hear, or they get some sort of satisfaction, whether it be from hearing the story, or they know that they can take action because of the stories that we've reported on. And as a Saturday reporter, a lot of the stories I covered were a lot of community events. So I've covered like a Black Business Expo or Pride parades or just kind of community events where people can be who they are, but also help out others. All of these kind of combined, they've reaffirmed why I think journalism is such a people-centric career. And it's these types of stories that I want to continue doing in the future. I mean, the last story, I did a package recently on we had to rescue or firefighters in a different county had to rescue a dog because it fell into a frozen lake, and they like tied the firefighter up, and then like they shoved him out there, and then like they pulled him back in when he got the dog. And a lot of the times the people that I interviewed about that story, they were just emphasizing how much of community it was. And even though community is local, it's not national. Of course, there are other national communities, but it's, I want to tell stories that make people feel good about where they are, where they're from, and what they're doing with their life.
Thank you for your time, Jay.
Thank you, Holden.